Hi, everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today, I'm talking about the movie Super Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers movie. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you have not seen the movie yet and you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So, Super Mario Brothers is an adaptation of the Super Mario Brothers video games. In the movie, Luigi gets kidnapped or he gets transported to another dimension, and Mario has to rescue him from Bowser, who's King of the Koopas, I guess. All right. So as far as what I liked about the movie, cast, everyone made fun of Chris Pratt when it was announced he was going to be Mario. When the trailer came out and you heard a little bit of his voice, people were complaining about it. That being said, I think he was fine as Mario. I actually think they do a thing at the very beginning where he's doing like an Italian accent, and you're like, okay, he's clearly not going to do the whole movie. But the voice they kind of settled on was, mostly Chris Pratt's voice, but with a little bit of a New York accent, which I think was a reasonable choice and it made sense. And I think it mostly fit the character. Didn't mind it at all. I like Charlie Day as Luigi. I think he fit, and he also was doing kind of a New York accent, I think. And Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, again, made a lot of sense. Good voice. I think she fit the character really well. I like the character designs in this, the way that Mario and Luigi and Koopa looked. Bowser, I suppose he was Koopa when I was a kid. And all those characters, I think they all look really cool. I like most of the sort of world design and the actual animation style. I thought was pretty good, and I liked it. Movie's got a good soundtrack, a lot of 80s songs in there, like I Need a Hero and Take on Me, which is funny. I Need a Hero was always a song that I liked as a kid because it was about heroes or whatever. But recently it's been used a lot. They used it in Masters of the Universe, Revelation or whatever. They used it in Shazam too. And then now in this, I don't know why all of a sudden everyone's decided, hey, we got to use that song in our movie. But there we are. I did like the references to the game, and I appreciated them. Like I said, in the beginning, there's a reference where they have like a sort of a Jumpman video game, which references Mario Brothers. He was originally called Jumpman. They have a thing that references Duck Hunt. They have Charles Martinet. Martinet appears in here. He's the guy who does Mario for the game. Some people were upset. They wanted him to do the voice, but I think he was like, it actually hurts my voice. I don't know if I could do it for a whole movie. I think I had him in here briefly. He goes, whoa, he does like the famous Mario lines and all that stuff. So a lot of fan service, a lot of references, stuff like that. There's also the leveling kind of stuff and the platforming references. There's a lot of that stuff with the boxes, and even the very beginning where they run through and he jumps on the flag at the end, just like in the original Super Mario Brothers games. There's even references to the old show with Lou Albano, with the ad that they do for the plumbing thing is using the theme song from that old Super Mario Brothers cartoon show or whatever it was they had in the late 80s, early 90s. I liked all that. I like seeing the platforming stuff, how Mario has to sort of train, and they do the montage where he has to go through essentially one of the levels from the original Super Mario Brothers game. I like the Charles Martinet cameo. There's a brief little thing where Mario does like the Naruto run, and I just liked it because I was like, oh, I get that reference. I'm not too old for that, although I don't think it's going to age well, but there you go. And I really like the nihilistic star. That was probably my favorite character in the entire movie. You see him in the trailer a little bit, but he's is this star with like a little kid's voice who's just like, life is pointless. I just pray for the sweet release of death and like that kind of stuff. That's really funny to me. Anytime you have like a little kid's voice saying like very nihilistic or very depressing things, so it was going to make me laugh. There's something about that dichotomy is interesting to me. As far as what I disliked about the movie, I didn't really care for most of the rest of the cast in this. I found all of their voices to be very annoying. I appreciate that most of them weren't just doing their normal voice. They were trying to do something different, but Fred Armisen is in here, I think, as one of the old guys. I don't remember who, but his voice was very, the old turtle guy, I think. Or the old monkey. He was the old monkey. His voice is very ape, whatever. His voice very annoying. Keegan-Michael Key is Toad, very annoying voice. Seth Rogen, who I generally like, also found him kind of annoying in this. And Jack Black, who I'm a huge fan of. I love Tenacious D, at least the first record. I thought he was kind of annoying in this too. And he's basically doing his regular voice, but just a little bit more angry or something. But yeah, I didn't like it. I don't know. It was just like everyone chose to do these very annoying voices where it's like, hey, I'm Toad, let's go. And like, I'm Koopa. And it was just like, oh, this is tough on my ears to listen to this. I did not like it. There wasn't enough Charlie Day. I liked him, I think, the most, and I think his depiction of Luigi was great, but they split up Mario and Luigi pretty early on in the movie, and then they're kind of separate, and it would have been nice to see more of them interacting together, or just more Luigi in there, honestly. And Pratt's voice, like I said, he kind of settles on this New York accent, but then he kind of just sounds like Chris Pratt. It's kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio's accent in Gangs of New York. Like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. It fluctuates depending on the situation. So yeah, maybe they could have found somebody with an actual New York accent to do that, or somebody who was more fitting than that. I didn't like Bowser's song. Again, I usually like Jack Black. I love when he sings. He sings in a lot of the stuff he's in because he's got a great voice. But again, the song was just peachy, peachy, peach, peach, peach. And I guess the joke was it was a bad song, but and it was annoying to me. I didn't like a lot of the music, like the actual score music in this either. There's a part where they get the star, and instead of just doing the actual star music that they play in the Super Mario Brothers game, which is a great piece of music, they like did this, kind of fancy reworked version where it's like, oh, they worked in the melody, but then they added all this other stuff, and I didn't like it at all. I thought it sounded terrible. I'm like, why can't you just play the original music? I guess I'm just the old man here yelling at the sky here. The movie felt like it was forever. The one good thing I heard about this movie was, hey, at least it's short. It's only 90 minutes, but it felt like 3 hours to me. I did not enjoy this movie for the most part. It just felt like an empty cash grab. There was times where there's a point about halfway through, I was like, maybe I can just leave. Like, no one's forcing me to be here. I can just go. There's no Yoshi. There's a brief little thing where you see some Yoshis or whatever Yoshi's species is called running around. And you're like, oh, hey, cool, Yoshi. No Yoshi. They do a little tease at the end, end credit scene where you see the egg. It's like, cool, but cool just to have Yoshi in this movie. There's really no motivation for Bowser in this. And again, I realize it's a kid's movie and maybe I'm asking for too much, but with all the Disney movies and the Pixar movies that have all these great, after like Up, came out or something like that, or even The Incredibles, where you actually have a character whose motivation, the villain's motivation is pretty reasonable and kind of makes some good points. You're like, yeah. And then in this, it's just, I'm an evil guy who wants to marry the princess. And even his followers are like, wait, why do you want to marry the princess? Since when is this? Yeah. And in addition to that, really there's no character arcs at all in this. So Mario is like, he's not afraid of anything, and he doesn't like mushrooms. And Luigi's afraid of everything, and Princess Peach is good at everything, I guess. And so for me, it would have been nice to have some sort of a character arc wherein like Mario realizes that maybe he needs to be more cautious sometimes, or Luigi realizes that he doesn't need to be afraid all the time. Maybe he needs to be brave sometimes. Or Princess Peach finds that she's not great at everything and she needs to work. But there's none of that. Nobody changes from the beginning of this movie to the end. They're all very flat characters who are just, Mario's the greatest guy ever. It's like, okay, fine, but why is he the greatest guy ever? Like, I don't know. And at the end of the day, the movie just really felt like an ad for Nintendo, because it was an ad for Nintendo. So other than that, the movie is directed by Aaron Horvath, Michael Jelenic, and Pierre Ledoux, who got an assistant director credit. I'm not sure how that all falls out. Aaron Horvath did Teen Titans Go to the Movies, as well as he worked on the TV show. I like that movie from what I remember. Michael Jelenic worked on Teen Titans Go, the show, and Pierre Ledoux is his first directing or assistant directing, but he worked in the animation department for The Grinch, Despicable Me movies, and some other stuff. It was written by Matthew Fogel, who wrote Minions: Rise of Gru and Lego Movie 2, neither of which I particularly cared for, so I'm not surprised I didn't like this either. I will say, though, the kids in the audience loved it. I heard a couple kids say it was the best movie they'd ever seen. It was their favorite movie. They thought it was great. I even heard some adults in the audience say they liked it too. Not only the parents, but some couples who were maybe in their 20s said that they thought it was really great and they loved it. People seem to be very happy with the fan service and the references to all the things they get, which admittedly I'm not a big Nintendo guy. I had a original NES and then I switched to Sega Genesis and then went into PlayStation. I think the last Nintendo thing I bought was like a Game Boy Color back in the early 2000s. So yeah, I'm not as big into the lore and all that kind of stuff as everyone else is, but yeah, I was curious to see this, and I do remember Mario as a kid, and I like Legend of Zelda, and I would love to see a movie about that, or Metroid, or F-Zero, or Captain Skyhawk. There's a lot of cool things they could do. Star Fox, but yeah. For this, at least for me, I'm not really looking forward to the rest of the Nintendo cinematic universe. That being said, though, I'm in the minority, at least when it comes to the audience here. Rotten Tomatoes on this, critics are at 56% approval. Audience, though, 96%. So people who aren't critics are loving this movie. Like I said, I didn't care for it. I thought it was kind of a terrible movie, actually. Budget on it's $100 million. It's made $377 million worldwide so far. So it's going to make a lot of money. I'm sure they're going to make more of these. hopefully the rest of them are better than this. I mean, I realize, again, I'm a 40-year-old man here complaining that a kid's movie wasn't good enough, but like, I don't know, I think we should demand more from our movie makers. And if they're going to keep doing this, I would hope that they put a little more effort and a little more thought into the Nintendo movies going forward. So as far as my score on this one, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It reminds me of like the old cartoon TV shows back in the 70s and 80s, like, you know, He-Man or Transformers or G.I. Joe. But even those had more plot and more of a moral to them than this. This is just, to me, just an empty cash grab. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night. I'll see you here again next week.